Chuck.
Senator, you have the floor.
Great. Thank you very much, Chairman Bell and members. Today I bring you Senate Bill 1239. Currently, automobiles model year 1976 or earlier are exempted from the biennial smog check inspections. This bill would extend the vehicle year from 1976 to 1981. I will be amending the bill after committee that would limit the biennial smog check exemption to vehicles that are insured under a collector car insurance policy. And I do have a copy of that proposed amendment by Galgiani.
We have somebody pass the amendments out. Senator, you have some amendments, correct? And so
Yes.
We'll have the sergeant pass them out, or the staff
Great, thank you.
can help out. And I think the rules would call for these amendments taken up at the next meeting, but you can pass your mock-up today
Yes.
for us to look at. Okay.
One of the provisions of the collector insurance includes a mileage restriction that would generally restrict the amount of mileage the vehicle may be driven to roughly 5,000 miles annually. There's different insurance policies that, some of them have requirements of 1,000 miles a year, or 2,500, up to 5,000 miles a year. That's something that typically is checked by the insurance company to verify that it's truly a classic car. They don't want regular vehicles getting into a classic car policy and getting a discount, because these are unique vehicles that are used in parades and car shows, and their mileage is very limited. In fact, it affects the value of the vehicle to increase the mileage. So this would at the same time minimize the environmental impact that the smog check regulates. Extending exemption to 1981 allows the rich history of collector vehicles to flourish while still keeping the environmental impact at a minimum. With me here today is the president of the Association of California Car Collectors, Rex Roden, to testify in support.
Thank you, Senator. Witnesses in favor, please. Welcome. Yeah.
Thank you, and good afternoon. My name is Rex Roden. I am the president of the Association of California Car Clubs, and I'm here to support SB 1239. I want to thank Senator Gaines for bringing this to our attention, and also us being a sponsor of it. Basically, the collector car hobby represents vehicles that are very important to the culture, the car culture in the state of California. As a matter of fact, there's been oftentimes that I've given rides to legislators and mayors and councilmen and that kind of thing in my collector car at parades and those kind of things. And so I think it's very important to California, not only for that perspective, but also for the hobby itself. We talked about the insurance, collector car insurance. I think that's very important to realize that there are certain insurance companies that only represent and insure collector vehicles. Some of the companies have gone over and started representing people who drive daily drivers, but most of those insurance companies, whether it be Hagerty or Grundy or Peacock or American Collectors, they specialize specifically in collector cars. In addition to that, as the senator addressed, they also encourage the owners of those particular vehicles with mileage restrictions. And they have basically on a honor system, they report those mileages to the insurance companies on a yearly basis when they renew. The other thing is that vehicles that are considered to be classic cars, there is a code, a vehicle code now where the California DMV recognizes collector cars as insured as collector cars, and that would be the protection that we would have as far as those cars are concerned, as far as smog and that kind of thing is concerned. The thing that is important here is that the mileage is reduced. For example, I have 5 collector cars. There's no way that I can put 1,000 miles a year on each of them, because basically in Northern California, the car show season, as we call it, is restricted. I won't take my cars out in the rain. because I don't want to clean them up after the rain, so I don't take them out in the rain. So it's basically 3 or 4 months, 5 months maybe, that I'm taking my cars to car shows or to parades. I don't use any of my collector cars as daily drivers. I don't want to take them out on the road. They're very valuable automobiles, and that's the way the collector car hobby works. As far as emissions are concerned, of course, you already realize that anything 76 and older is already excluded from the smog inspection. And what we're asking for here is that 1976, 77, 78, 79, and 80 be excluded. And the thing that you need to understand is the only thing we're asking for is that they're excluded or exempted from the smog inspection. Those vehicles came from the factory with certain smog equipment, whether it be a smog pump or a canister, clean air canister, PCV valves. The law requires that anything that vehicle came from the factory with, that smog-related equipment, stays on the car. It is a violation of the law to take that equipment off the car. So in other words, those vehicles are still going to have the smog equipment on them, and 9 times out of 10, the equipment is going to work properly or the car won't run. So the maintenance, as far as the collector car is concerned, the owners keep those cars maintained very well. They want to take them out when they want to take them out. They want them to start. They want them to run. They want them to perform. So basically, that's what we're looking at here. Just to give you an example, the Historical Vehicle Association that's based in Traverse City, Michigan, did a study about 3 or 4 years ago, and basically what they found is that a collector car that's driven approximately 1,000 miles per year, getting approximately 15 miles per gallon, emits 0.3 of 1 metric ton of pollution. That is less than a charcoal briquette barbecue in 1 year. So I don't want you folks to think about outlawing charcoal briquette barbecues, but certainly that's very minimal as far as smog is concerned or the impact on the environment. So anyway, that's all I got to say. Is there any questions? I'd be happy to answer them.
Other witnesses in favor?
Mr. Chair and members, Chuck Cole on behalf of the Specialty Equipment Market Association. We're in support of this. We think that the amendments move a long way to getting reductions in the emissions that are already being quantified in the current program. We think that this is a de minimis kind of adverse impact on any emission increases. We're looking at vehicles that are well maintained, they're loved by their owners, and quite frankly, the vast majority of them are the ones that have passed smog check in all the series to this date to keep them registered. So I think it would be a very rare number that would not be meeting any of the emission requirements. So we're really looking forward to making sure that the market is out there in a positive way for families now who love to work on automobiles, and it goes back to several generations. We're now seeing electric vehicles being used as collectors for the future. So it's a new wave and very positive things that have gone on. I will also like to mention the fact that the products that come from our industry are all evaluated for emission impact by the Air Resources Board. We created an executive order program, and none of the on-road parts may degrade emissions whatsoever. So we care very much about air quality and health. We think this is a de minimis impact on that, and we think it's a very positive step forward for collectors of vehicles.
Okay, other witnesses.
Good, Senator, one last thing I forgot. I was kind of surprised when I looked at the analysis of the bill when I saw 15 supporters, including the Association of California Car Clubs. I have, and I don't know if they didn't get the word to you or whatever, but I have over 800 signatures here on a petition that we put out in February, and for these people that support this bill. So if you'd like to see this, I'd be happy to.
You can hand it to your senator, and perhaps the senator will make sure that gets in the record, correct?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have witnesses opposing or have concerns, please.
I'll move the bill.
There's a motion for the bill. Let's hear go ahead.
Mr. Chairman and members, Brendan Tuig on behalf of the California Air Pollution Control Officers Association in opposition. We're the executive officers of all 35 local air districts. Association. So even with the amendments, we are still opposed. We have concerns that the bill will have a negative public health impact, make it more difficult for districts to meet the federal and state health-based standards. You know, the cars exempted by this bill are some of the most highly polluting in the state. We have the smog check program so that we can have regular inspections to ensure that the vehicles are being maintained. And that we also know that vehicles degrade over time, and so making it all the more necessary to have regular smog inspections. You know, under the bill, to get the exemption, all you have to do is show proof that the car is insured as a collector car. So in the short period of time that I had late morning when I saw the amendments in the committee, I went on a major insurance provider's website. In fact, the witness mentioned Hagerty. Well, I have went on Hagerty.com's website, and they have, just to see what the process would be like to insure a collector car. It asks you, it provides you a question about makes of the cars, and it lists 64 different makes of car. Under Ford, for example, it lists a Fiesta. It also lists a Pinto. And then later, it asks you how many miles you drive the car each year. And it says, and I'm quoting, if I may read, it has been our experience that most classic vehicles are driven 3,500 miles per year or fewer. However, this is not our program's mileage limit. You're welcome to enter a higher mileage if that is how the vehicle is used. Later, there's questions about how much you drive it. Do you drive it for pleasure use, cruises, occasionally driving to work? One of the things is driven daily, primary, everyday transportation. So, you know, our concern is that we don't want to rely on the honor system. We know that a 1976 vehicle emits 827 times more reactive organic gases and a running exhaust emissions than a 2010 vehicle. And so while we may be talking about a smaller number of cars, we're talking about a lot of emissions. And we think that folks with the amendments might even be more inclined to just go ahead and try to get their cars registered as insured as collector cars in order to bypass smog. So we think the current system is working well. We're getting emissions reductions. We think it's fair and equitable, and we respectfully oppose the measure.
Okay, thank you. Other witnesses, please.
Good afternoon, Tom Addison on behalf of the Legislative Committee of the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, here to respectfully oppose both the measure that's in print as well as the recent proposed amendments. Our concerns, frankly, are less with well-intentioned motorists who are doing a good job of maintaining their truly classic cars. But instead, we would note that there are perhaps 162,000 vehicles in the state between 1976 and 1981. And it appears to us that this bill would offer a loophole for those vehicles to self-classify as collector vehicles to avoid the smog check program. Smog check is a fair, equitable way that all Californians who've got a vehicle can do their share to make sure they're not contributing to our air pollution problems. If you're truly maintaining your classic car, you're going to pass smog check. So why is it that you need an exemption from the program? The problem is not the people who are maintaining their vehicles. The problem, we would suggest, is instead people who will take advantage of this loophole and drive right through it. For those reasons, we're respectfully opposed.
Okay, thank you.
Bill McGavin with the Coalition for Clean Air in opposition to the bill. In a state where about 80% of the pollution from automobiles comes from about 20% of the cars, what we need to do with our older vehicles is to clean them up, as the system does fairly, and not to give more exemptions to those older vehicles. So we urge you to hold this bill in committee.
Okay. Any other witnesses? Questions from our committee? We have Senator Allen, Senator Roth.
Yeah, before the folks in opposition leave, I'd like to ask them a couple questions. So, you know, I'd like to get a better sense from you as to if you think that there is a if there's a solution here. I mean, you understand what the senator's trying to do. I mean, you know, there is a car culture in our state, and we've got an extraordinary number of these collector cars. It is part of who we are as Californians. And yet, at the same time, you guys have brought up all these legitimate issues relating to air quality that I think we all care a great deal about. What would you suggest to us or to the senator with regards to how you can get to yes on something like this in a way that it doesn't, that it protects public health and our air quality while also doing right by our car heritage?
So, Senator, here are some thoughts. Having worked on these issues for 2 decades, more than 2 decades at this point, I think that we've got some great solutions in law today. First of all, let's take older cars that are subject to smog check but might be having a hard time finding parts to pass smog check. Legitimate concern. That's exactly why we've got the referee stations to let those cars pass smog check if they're missing parts.
Referee stations?
That's right. The Bureau of Automotive Repair, part of the Department of Consumer Affairs, the agency that operates our smog check program in California, has stations that are set up specifically for folks who've got those very issues. Secondly, if there's an issue with the cost of the smog check program, that's exactly why we've got the Consumer Assistance Program to provide financial assistance to low-income motorists who might be having a hard time passing the smog check program. I guess, frankly, while I haven't had much time to think about the proposed amendments, I don't understand fully what the exact problem is. The cars that are collector cars of this make and model will pass smog check with an emissions rate that's roughly 2.5 times what those cars were emitting when they were new. Smog check pass rates allow for substantial emissions deterioration over time. And of course, 1976, 1980 vehicles are allowed to pass at a far, far higher rate of emissions than newer cars. We don't penalize cars for being old.
Right. So at some point, I'd love to hear the author's response to that.
I think.
I'm going to have my witness come up. I would appreciate that.
And I would appreciate if a couple of them stayed.
And Senator, you have a question? Yeah. Senator Roth, Senator Leyva.
Well, I just want to, if I could, I just want to respond to this gentleman's comments about
please.
When there's a bad part or something like that, the car, whether it's through the referee or whatever, the vehicle gets passed on smog. That's not necessarily true. I have a neighbor who has a 240Z, who has a defective exhaust manifold on the vehicle. He spent thousands of dollars not only trying to find the part, but trying to get that vehicle passed. It took him 2 years to get it done. And he finally got it passed, but that's part of the problem that we're talking about right here, is the 2 years and the thousands of dollars, almost $2,000 to find the part that was in Tennessee, that was CARB approved, and to get it transported to California and then get it installed in his vehicle. This is the kind of thing that the car collectors in California really don't need to be experiencing, the extra cost, number one, and the time that he could not drive his vehicle on the road. Now, of course, he had to put a non-operational on the vehicle because he wasn't going to take it on the road, but there's 2 years that he was not able to enjoy his car. It sat in his garage and got dirt on it until he could find the right parts. The other problem that we're experiencing is that the parts are getting more and more and more rare. The vehicles this age, of course, they, like the gentleman said, the parts do deteriorate, and so they need to be replaced. And you just don't find a manufacturer that's going to give you a exhaust manifold for a 240Z when he's only going to make one and sell one. He's just not going to do that. It's not beneficial to that particular manufacturer. So there's a parts issue, there's a time issue, and I have not, and I've been doing this for a long time as far as the collector car hobby is concerned. I do not know of anybody who had a car that did not pass smog that the referee exempted that vehicle from smog and gave him a buy. I don't know anybody that's happened to. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I sure haven't found anybody that's happened to. And I'm not suggesting that he's saying something that's not true, but I just haven't experienced it.
Senator Roth.
Well, a couple questions. How many of these cars are there on the road built between 76 and 81.
The bill as amended. Senator Gaines, do you
Well-
have any idea of the numbers of,
Yeah, first of all,
you amended your bill to narrow it to, or I don't know if it's narrowed to,
I think it would affect a couple of thousand cars out of a body of, I think, 28 million registered cars in the state of California. So we're talking about a minute percentage, and the bill is not designed for commuter vehicles. And to speak to that issue with Hagerty, in my speaking to the underwriters, they're looking for cars that are driving less than 5,000 miles a year. So maybe there's flexibility beyond 3,500, but they're not interested in insuring vehicles for their classic car program beyond 5,000 miles. That's what the underwriters told me.
That was going to be my second question. Maybe there's a further amendment in there that clarifies that these are cars that are driven a limited number of miles per year, but that was certainly my understanding of how the collector car insurance program works, that you're not supposed to be driving it very much, and that's how they rate the risk and set the premium. So then my last question has to do with the inconsistency between the provision that talks about vehicles being at least 35 model years old and then the year, whether it's 1976 or 1981. Shouldn't we be eliminating that 35 model year provision from the bill in order to fix the inconsistency? Because won't it be inconsistent again next year?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good, valid point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We just speak to model years specifically.
okay, go ahead. You want to explain that?
On the issue of the rolling exemption, the Bay Area Air District sponsored AB 2683 of 2004, the Sally Lieber bill that ended the rolling 30-year exemption. And in fact, there was a deal cut with the Association of California Car Clubs that 76 and newer would be in the program permanently, and 75 and older would be out permanently. Clearly, this is a revisiting of that discussion. But in terms of our perspective of the number, we think that up to 162,000 vehicles could qualify for this, given the fact that it's a self-reporting honor system on the mileage limitations for collector cars under the insurance program.
Which is still 0.5% of the 27 million cars that are registered in California.
To clarify, that's all vehicles. All vehicles that fall into that category are not classic vehicles that have been renovated that are being used for parades and shows.
Okay, Senator Leyva.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a little knowledge of cars, classic cars. My dad's full-time job for the last 30 years has been restoring cars. That's what he does. And I would just say that for him, it's a point of pride that all of his cars, no matter what year they were built, they all pass smog. So I'm not sure what the bill's trying to get to. And, I lived with him for a lot of years, not for the last 27 that I've been married, and I never heard him complaining about smogging them being a real problem. So I'm not sure how necessary the bill is, all due respect to what you do as well, sir.
Can I ask you a question? What were the year models between the 76 and 81?
Older.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
He wouldn't complain because 76 and older are exempt.
But you didn't hear what I said. He takes a point of pride in making sure all cars he restores pass smog. So even though the law doesn't require him to, he feels that that's something that's very important.
And I think that most of the collector car hobby people that you're going to run into feel the same way.
So then they would probably be okay with what they're doing, with the law the way it is.
They're pretty sure their cars are going to pass smog, but they don't want to go through the rigors of getting a smog inspection and the cost that we feel is unnecessary.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? I see none. Senator Allen, you have another question?
No, just a comment. I'm obviously very interested in hearing what the chair has to say. I know his original recommendation was a no vote. I hear that there may be some room for folks to come together, but I would encourage you, if this does not get out of the committee, to keep working with some of the opponents who I think have raised some valid concerns, to see if you can craft a solution that will be mutually acceptable for everybody.
Okay. We'll let Senator Gaines close.
Great, wonderful.
Senator Gaines, welcome. You clues.
And I would entertain delaying presentation of the bill in terms of taking it up for a vote, if we could work on amendments. So I'll just offer that if you think that we can arrive at a solution, we've got time, we could work with any issue or complaints that folks have expressed in this hearing and see if they can be addressed so that there is a higher degree of certainty and clarity.
So what's your you have a deadline on your bill?
We okay?
You got appropriations?
Fiscal? Through appropriations, so.
You got 1 week. You got 7 days. Okay. What's the will of the committee? If the committee wants to have more discussion on it, realize that these amendments, as he has right here, I don't think solve his problem, but I think we could open the door for a lot more vehicles. And we have our laws that we want to preserve our air quality. So that's my opinion. So
We could always take amendments after it gets out of committee.
yeah, I know.
It happens all the time.
Well, I mean, we could, Mr. Chair, I mean,
You asked the question, so I gave you my answer.
Yeah.
It's like,
we could, see if they, over the next week, can get these folks off of opposition and then just have an up or down vote based on those amendments next week.
all right. How about other people? What do you think? Okay, you like that? Okay. You want to take a week? We'll pull this off the agenda today and.
That's great.
give it
if I-
another
if I
7
just
days.
Give you an example of the sort of automobiles that we're talking about, because they're probably the most famous would be the.
Can you try to do it the next few days, like right away, so we
yeah.
know? We don't want the last minute,
Yes.
kind of, yeah.
We'll work
Okay,
with
okay, thank you.
opponents and see what we can.
Senator Gain, good luck.
Got to give you a little clarity on the type of vehicle, though, as I'm exiting.
Okay.
Smokey and the Bandit, the vehicle that Burt Reynolds drove.
Oh, boy.
In that was a 1977 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am.
A 19
That
what?
car sold in February at Barrett Jackson auction for $550,000.
A 19
that's-
what? What was it?
That's a 77 Pontiac
77
Firebird Trans Am.
Firebird. I had a 1968 Firebird 400 convertible. It was a great car.
Nice car.
Where's it now?
I couldn't afford it. It was too expensive.
Thank you.
I was like 23. It was a good car. It was very fast. Okay.
1279. Senator Hancock's bill is the last one.
Senator Hancock, there she is. She's hiding behind a chair. I couldn't see her.
But we do have some of the bills with the roll call.
We can call now, because there's people.